Hang on, why is my head there? There we go.
Okay.
Head? What?
It was just
All right,
my
no.
floating foot.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our U13 college application seminar today. We hope that our experiences in college application for over the last 6 months have been will be fruitful for you guys. So hopefully we can share some of our tips. So for the last 2 weeks, we've been reaching out to year 12, 11s, asking for what's important and figuring out ourselves what you guys might think that should think about during this period of time. And we figured out for year 12s, it's probably best to take advantage of this COVID-19 breaks and think about what you should do for the next 4 to 5 months. So we came up with an idea of sort of like a guide for you to do over the summer. Without further ado, we'll introduce to you the contents for our college application seminar today, which here it is. In terms of table of contents, we split this into basically not like 5 steps, but more like 5 key points that you need to be worry about, starting with knowing where you are right now, and then moving on to school selection, and then understanding the requirements and how to make sure that this whole thing goes as smoothly as it possibly can, and some of the tips that we're able to give you to balance out college application and IB at the same time. So without further ado, let's begin by asking the simple question, knowing where you are right now and where you want to be. A lot of students coming into the college application process doesn't know where to start. And I get it. It's a very, very complicated process that, can be a little bit intimidating at times. A lot of you coming in, you have friends that either know exactly what they're going to do, or, you have friends that are very high achievers. You have friends that are, doing all sorts of things around you, and you feel intimidated and scared. But the important thing is you have to remember that this process should be about you and yourself, self-reflecting over what you've done so far, and showing that to the universities for you to go to the best schools that you possibly can. So it doesn't matter what your friends are doing. Think about who you are, where you are right now, and where you want to be in the next years. Okay? I started personally by looking at my interest. Now, a lot of us have varying level of interest. Some of us know exactly what we're going to do. Like, for instance, if you go into the field of science, you're going to do molecular biology, which is good because that narrows down your option. Some of us just want to explore, because for me, I apply to business, but I'm not really sure what specific concentration, like marketing or finance, I will choose. And some of us just purely, they haven't decided yet. And these are all fine. These are all fine stages for you to be in. There's not a problem to know exactly or not at all what you want to do. But the important thing is you must know where you are, and it's okay to be at any of these 3 states. Second thing is that you should really cater your university towards your expertise, meaning that, I was never a good art student or a music student, so I'm never going to go into that field. So that, again, narrows down the ranges of universities and major for you. Lastly, extracurricular. These are outside of the classroom stuff that, will help you shape who you are and your identity, and will help you self-reflect and for you to write your resume and personal statement. Again, these 3 steps you need to take are all very self-reflective, and it really helps you to find out who you are and where you want to be to make the college application process much, much easier for you. So I advise you this summer, go home, write out who you are and what have you been doing throughout your high school years, through your middle school years, everything you have done, and then putting that into a story and making that story unique and be you to send to the university. Without further ado, we will go on to be the more specific stuff with college selections. Now, for school selections, there are thousands of universities in the world. How do we know which is right for you? Now, Kwon will help you narrow down the options by looking at the factors to consider.
So here are some factors that you need to consider when applying to university. So first are the, here are the bullet point, the geography, culture requirements, major and courses, employment, private and public, liberal arts, community college, finance, aid, and planned scholarship. All things now. Okay, next. So here are some factors that you need to consider about when you want to go to the university. So first is the weather of the place, whether you like that place or not. Is the city giving you the vibe that you actually want, and do you want to stay there? Next. So also you need to consider about the housing option there, because for some people, they like me, I don't want to stay in the dorm, so I need to consider where should I rent the place and which place would be better for me. Next. Also, I'm a person that like to play a lot, so you also need to consider that is the city having the things that you want to play, and is your location is near those places. Next. Also, if you like sports, you also need to, you should ask the school if the school have those sport that you like. So for me, I asked the school in Singapore where they have football and basketball. Also, food is a very important factor that we need to consider. And also, next. And also don't forget the requirements.
In terms of school selection, there are also other, beside the factors that Kwon mentioned, which is just as important, there are other things you can look at. In terms of a major course and employment opportunities, these are things that, are not always reflective by the ranking. So for example, let me give you 2 examples. I know these are very American examples, but it's important that you understand what the school is known for. In my personal experience, I want to apply for business, but the University of California, Berkeley is a great school, but the problem is they don't have a business school for undergraduate students. Therefore, it'll be pointless if I actually apply there, even though I love the school, I love the town, and I love the city. So look for the school and understand what they're known for. It's also great. Other things you need to focus on is the career service and internship opportunity, because after university, most of us will need to look for jobs, and what better way for you to do that with internships, connections, and etc. For example, I'm giving an example here of Michigan State University. Michigan State is not a very competitive program at all, a prestigious school, but not a very hard school to get into. I would say, but the thing is though, is that Michigan State got great connections with employers that regularly employ students. For example, manufacturing firms and marketing firms that are willing to take in students every single year. Having these connections between schools and employers gives you a great advantage above other schools that may be more competitive to get into, but won't get you the jobs that you actually will need in the future. Moving on.
Okay, so I'll talk to you guys about the types of colleges and universities there are all around the world. So the first type is the liberal art college, or LAC. So this kind of school has a well-rounded academics, which you are required to take many courses from different disciplines. So for example, if you like business, then you take courses in business, but it doesn't stop at that point, because you have to take other classes like biology, like computer science, like some requirements of the school, for example. So they ensure you to have a well-rounded academics, and then you have to learn a lot of like critical thinking skill, teamwork, etc. So these type of school are known for like employment, like good for future employment, because these students have practical skills. And then liberal art college has a smaller classroom size, which you can have a lot of interaction with the professors and also the faculty members there. And the community is also really close knit community. And yeah, for example, there's University of University College Utrecht, Netherlands, Swarthmore College, or Primwell College. The second type is community college, which you only learn for 2 years instead of 4, and then these types score are easier to get in, and they cost lower, and also students tend to transfer into larger university after 2 years, so it may save them a lot of cost. So you can see an example there on the slide. The third type is private university, which are funded by individuals and private donors. Because of that, they usually have higher tuition rate. The classroom size is smaller, so you also have a chance to talk to professor more. And the students' body here are really diverse. So example, King College in UK or University of Notre Dame in Australia, etc. For the fourth type is public university. These are funded by local government. So they have lower tuition rate for in-state, but higher tuition rate for out-of-state. But still, they are lower than private university, and they tend to have larger student body. For example, U Michigan, which is a university in United States, has around 30,000 undergrad, comparing to like just around 14,000 of Northeastern University, which is a private one in Boston. So this is better for research because you have a lot of funding. Yeah, so depending on your aim to get into college for, you should consider these types of college and which one is more suitable for you. And the next one I want to talk about is financial aid and scholarship. Next.
It's loading.
Oh, okay.
It's there. Financial aid and scholarship, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Okay, here it is. So there are 3 types of financial aid resources. There are grants, which are need-based money without repayment. There are scholarship, which are based on merit or performance, and also without repayment. And there are work study, which are need-based campus job where you can get earnings as a student. And then during your college application, you should consider the financial aid and scholarship factors and discuss it with your family beforehand. So there are universities that are need-based, which mean you could apply for financial aid, and that wouldn't hurt your chance of getting into the university. And there are universities that are need aware, which means you apply for aid, and then they will consider that factor into your application, and that may hurt your chance of getting in, especially if you are international. And there are merit-based scholarship, which mean they could assess you based on ACT, SAT, or GPA. So when you look into like different sites of college, you should look for their average financial aid package, and then if they award aid to international students or not. So this is a chart, like an example of Dickinson College, which is a liberal art college in America, which they have like a high chance of average percent meet of need met. So which means it's really good if students really need financial aid. Next is apply for scholarship. So after you have finished your application to a certain school, if you want to apply further for scholarship, you need to go onto their website. For example, this is Washington U in St. Louis, and this type of scholarship is a signature program of the school, and they require you to okay, I'm back. And they require you to write additional essays for them and another letter of recommendations. So a tips for applying for scholarship is that you should consider if you are suitable for that type of scholarship itself. Because, for example, this scholarship, it's designed for students who are highly involved in extracurricular activities and social services. So you should consider that factor. And some school, they automatically consider you for merit scholarship, so you should be aware of that too. And for applying for financial aid. So for international students, mostly you need a CSS profile, in which you will list out your family income expenses like current high school tuition or any basic expense. So you should fill it with your family. And then there is College Board iDoc service where you upload your bank statement and other financial statement. And some school, they require you to submit documents directly to the application portal, so you should be aware of that too. Yes, that's it.
Thanks, Anne. So, aside looking at the factors for you to consider in selecting your schools, I've also noticed that some students tends to, despite knowing their needs, they are afraid to reach out to certain things, and they're also made quite a substantial made quite common mistakes in their school selections. And now I'll detail you some common scenarios. We can meet Amy here. She's an A plus student throughout her high school. She have
Hi, Amy.
great extra.
Sorry. Go on.
She have great extracurriculars, great standardized testing scores. So she's obviously aiming for the top of the top schools. As we can see on the screen here, she's applying to 8 schools in total: Yale, Columbia, Harvard, Stanford, UPenn, Cornell, and University of Chicago, all top 10 programs in her major, and schools that she really believed that she will do great there and she loved to attend. Now, the only thing is that she feels so confident in her abilities to make it to these schools that she only ended up applying to one safety school. However, if you look right here, it's in the top 100. So what I'm saying is that if and God forbid, like if all of these universities ended up rejecting her, she ended up falling from top 10 to top 100, her home state schools. Now, I'm not saying this is the wrong choice, but imagine all the potential universities that she could have ended up applying within between, right? So it's important that you have your dream schools, but there's also schools that, you know, are in between, and for you to enter, you wouldn't want to fall that low down the list just because you end up not going to your dream school. And who knows, in your college experience might change. When you grow up, you might think that, oh, actually, this is the perfect schools for me. So now, this is a common mistake that students make, is that they only aim for the top schools and they're the schools that they want to go to, and sort of ignore everything else if they don't end up going there. Another common scenario that I see is with Jake here. Now, he's also an A-star student, but he's not as expressive as Amy would, and he's really shy in his abilities, and he's always doubting himself. So what he ended up doing was applying to a lot of schools that he think he'll definitely get into, like the bottom 3 we see here with Tulane University. UC Riverside or University of Illinois. And if you look on top, the Reach School in the top 20, that's Johns Hopkins University. And that's Jake's dream school since he was a kid. But he kept doubting himself so much that he only ended up applying to the 3 bottom schools we see there in the top 50 and never even attempted to apply to his Reach School. Now, this is another common scenario because sometimes you feel so unconfident in your abilities that you don't shoot for the schools that you want to. And in my college application experience, applying to university is like a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen. So if there is a dream school that you have and you set your eyes onto, go for it. Don't worry if you don't make it, as long as your list is balanced and you're still gonna able to fulfill your potential. Why did I name this section like this? Is that sometimes students end up either applying to a bunch of high-reaching universities that they want to go to, and if they don't get them, they fall really low back to their safety schools because they didn't prepare the schools in between, or is that they feel like this is a zone that's safe for them, so they're just going to apply to this many school and never even think of applying to the schools that they've been wanting to go since they were a kid. And whatever that happens, we want to help you to create the ideal scenario for you. So I experience with this a lot, and I've seen a lot of my friends do this. So I'm going to walk through the school selection process that I did for my college application. So initially, I just sat down and based on the list that Kwon and Minang gave me earlier, I narrowed down what my criteria are, where I'm at in my academics, in my extracurriculars, and what am I interested in. And I came over the list. This is what you would call, like when you go shopping online, you click on the filters. This would be the schools that would pop up for me. Initially, I had 24 schools ranging from safety, target, to reach, and high reach. And you see, these chances are the chances that I estimate by myself that I would get into, and giving me a possibly a pessimistic look at the realm of schools that are available to me. And I divided them into the list that Minang and Kwon previously sorted, and see what kind of schools there are. As you can see, there's 9 schools in the high reach, about 7 in the reach, 7 in the target, and 2 in the safety. I would say this is the kind of list you're aiming to do, is that you should have schools, a variety of schools from safety all the way to your dream school. And doing so ensures that you're able to unlock your full potential and that you're able to attend the university best suits your interest. Now, this list is done very early in the summer. However, it morphs a lot. The second list that came about had only 13 schools, the official list left from the initial list. And I divided them into the absolutely will apply, to the maybes, to the rejected. And they're rejected out of all sorts of merits. So Berkeley was taken out because they don't have business. You know, other schools are taken out for similar reasons, or they just simply are too hard to apply into or too tedious. And they morph around, as you see. And then the final list that I have only have 11 schools left, but still look at the list. It's still diverse enough to where there's a target and all the way to the high reach. And I ended up rejecting about 11 schools in total out of the, not like rejecting, but like taking it out of my official admission process. And this streams down the application process. What this means to show you is that you should not only have a diverse list, but you shouldn't be afraid to target many schools at the same time, given your academic stance and also how free you are. This allows you to fully unlock and really play around with the college admission process to make sure that you're able to attend a university that not only you like, but also allows you to reach your full potential. Now, with that out of the way, we will now talk about some of the typical requirements in the college application process. Starting with college application process in the US, UK, and Hong Kong.
So for a US application process, usually people use Common App as like a platform where you can just fill in your basic information and then write just one time your personal statement essay, and then you submit it to multiple school. And depending on the school you're applying to, they will require additional essays, but that is for the later part. So it's kind of convenient having a common platform for all schools in the US. So I'll guide you guys through the process. So first of all, you will create an account on the Common App and fill in your basic information, your name, your school, etc. And then in the Common App, there's a function of college search where you can search any college you want, and then you add it to your college list. So, and then after having added all the colleges that you want, and of course you do some research on those schools, you will see the requirement. So for this particular university, you can see like there is mid-year report required or final report required. So you have to fulfill these requirements to apply to this school. So you have to complete it. And also remember to check the deadlines. They could have common deadlines. For example, for regular decision, it is like the 1st of January, but they could vary also. So remember to check it. And then you just wait for the school email to create an application portal on the school website. Check more for more required materials. Like after you apply regular decision, they may require additional midterm transcript, for example, and that will affect your chance of getting admitted also. So you need to supply them these requirements and stay tuned for the results. And that's it. And for UK application process, yes.
Nan?
Hi, it's me. I applied to UK, not US. So I will simply introduce the process of applying to UK. So first of all, why study university in UK? The major difference between studying in UK and US is maybe the duration. As some of you guys may aware, studying in UK normally takes 3 years, not 4 years. However, if you study in Scotland, for example, St. Andrews or Edinburgh, you may study 4 years. However, if you decide to study in England, it will only take 3 years. So you can basically save 1 year. And I think this is a big advantage. And this is new update, and you can automatically extend your visa once you finish your undergraduate study. Next slide, please. So when you apply to UK, you are using the platform like Common App. There is UCAS in the UK. So I think UCAS is very useful website because I'm not sure about this point, but UK universities, they list all the requirements. For example, I applied to business courses in the UK. So they list all the modules that I am going to take in year 1 and year 2 and the following years. So here you can see I will take business analytics and many others, but we don't have to take like basic language modules, which are compulsory in Hong Kong. So you can save a lot of time studying the subject that you don't really want to study. Also, the UK university website, they show you how you will be assessed. Like here, you can see in year 1, you will have more written exam than the coursework. Just for the information, there is year 3, which is marked as full coursework. This is because if you take to study a course with placement, that means you will do intern or you can do exchange student. That's why it is marked as full coursework. Next slide, I will explain you how to make good use of UCAS homepage. So this is the general process how you apply to UK. So it's just like Common App. So you register the UCAS application website, and one thing about UK application is rolling application. This means that the early you apply, the early you will get the reply from the university. So yeah, it's better to apply early. So I started to prepare apply to UK in September, and I think I submitted my final application on the middle October, and I started to get offers from mid-November. So it was pretty early, and I think it's good because you can be motivated by getting more offers, and it is good to have more options to choose. So I think it's good to apply early. And how to apply? It is really simple because you just have to fill out the forms like your education history, and they require the past 3 years of your study transcript. This you can ask for Miss Sue, and this is calculated into UCAS tariff points. So we are taking IB. So if you get 7 in your math, that will turn into the UCAS point, and other subjects goes same, but it goes different by the subject. If you are taking HL math, it is calculated different from SL math. And last one is personal statement. Unlike other countries, UK, you can only submit one personal statement, whether you're applying to 2 different courses or 3 different courses. Oh, and I missed a big point. You can only apply to maximum 5 schools. So yeah, this is really hard to choose. This is really hard to choose because there are many good schools in the UK, I personally think. So it took me really long to choose which school to apply. So yeah, you should make good choice because you only got 5. And some schools require interviews, but it's not every school. So you should check the UCAS track page regularly. Another distinctive thing about UK is you can do clearing after the exam results are out. This means if you didn't meet the offer condition, then you have another chance to apply after the result is out in July. That's pretty it for the UK application process.
Now I'm gonna explain the Hong Kong application process. Simply, there are 5 major universities in Hong Kong, and I applied to all 5 universities. The hard part of Hong Kong universities is that all universities have different deadlines, and not just one application at a time like common application. And students have to go directly to the university admission site to create their own accounts and apply for H1. All universities start the early round at the end of September, and they start the main round on January. So I applied for the early round for 5 universities, and commonly they ask for 4 things in common. So transcripts for latest 3 years, and supporting document such as like certificate or extracurricular activities you have done for last 2 years, and reference letter from your teacher. And some universities do not require the reference letter. And the personal statement, this is also like some university like does not require the personal letter, a personal statement at all. And when you finish your application process, and you have to submit it by paying the application fee, most of them are about 300 Hong Kong dollar, which is about 1 to 2 million Vietnam dong. I attached the deadline and important days for the Hong Kong University application on the PowerPoint, so check it. Next page, please.
Okay. So before I get into the standardized testing, I just want to add a point about the common application that you can ask for a fee waiver, because typically universities fee application for US is quite expensive. It ranges from $70 and above. So if you apply to a lot of university, you should ask for a fee waiver if it's not affordable for you. So now get into the standardized testing, ACT versus SAT. So for the ACT, there will be 4 main components: English, math, reading, and science, with an optional essay. And SAT, it comprises of reading, writing, no count math, and optional essay. So just an overview, SAT requires mental math. So you can see the no count session, more critical reading skill for the reading session, which means you have to really understand the passage and its underlying message to really answer the questions in the test. So not just like pure skimming without understanding. And also there are a lot of tricks that you need to do practices to get to know better. So it's kind of complicated. But on the other hand, ACT requires speed because the timing. I will explain later. But basically, ACT has another section which is science, which different from SAT, which requires you to have a bit of scientific knowledge, would be an advantage if you have, and a data or graph interpretation skill. So getting into the timing. So ACT takes 2 hours 55 minutes and SAT takes 3 hours, so pretty much the same. But as you can see, like for ACT you have an average of 50 seconds per question, while SAT you have 1 minute and 10 seconds. So it's a matter of timing, and you have to take a lot of practice in order to improve that if you want to take ACT. So it's just kind of like a matter of preference. So if you are a speed-ish person, you can choose ACT. But no, you can choose ACT. But if you are more like in doubt and kind of slow, but you have the quality side, then you should choose SAT. Yes, next. So you should aim to take these tests at least 2 times because they're pretty hard. For me, I take SAT for 2 times and ACT for 2 times. So yeah, just check the timeline, and then I have the requirement for minimum hours. It depends on each person, but it's just, this is a typical requirement if you want to improve your point. So just take it as a reference and then plan out your testing dates accordingly. They are all available on SAT and ACT website, so you can check it out. Next, we will move on to IELTS versus TOEFL. So IELTS and TOEFL are all language examination, which test your English skill. And then IELTS, it will have 4 sections: speaking, reading, listening, and writing. Same for TOEFL, but IELTS is taken on paper and TOEFL is computer based. Next. So I have a comparison between two tests here. So the main point is if you prefer to take tests by hand, then you can take IELTS. And then if you prefer to take tests on computer and you're more familiar with computer, then take TOEFL. And then there are like other differences that you can take a look later. Yes.
So another one of the more important requirements of the college admission process is the personal statement. So here's what I would say: not all university usually require this, but those that do definitely place a strong emphasis on this criteria. Let me give you some stats just to think about. Harvard each year reject up to about 500 students that have perfect GPA, meaning they have around the score of 45 out of 45 in IB and comparison, and they have a perfect score of SAT, ACT, TOEFL, etc. However, they still get rejected. Why? Many suggest that it has to do with their personal statement and supplementary essays. Now, while I'm aware that US and UK universities personal statements and other essays criteria are drastically different, but it doesn't mean that it can't be still good writing. And some of the tips that I would give you in writing supplementary essays and personal statements and even portfolio requirements, that you be authentic. You want to share your story. You want to show why you are unique, and you're not just another person on the you're not just another random person. Go into deep into the decisions that you made during your school career. That why do you join this? Why do you join this club? Why did you do this? Why do you like the subject so much? Just be authentic. Show your story, how you progress through your your life, and don't make it all about saving the world, changing for the better. Be you. Show who you are. They're not going to think about that. Oh, they're not going to want you to impress them with fancy cheap words you take off the thesaurus. And they're also they also don't want you to be ultra emotional. Just tell the story. Tell who you are. Oh, by the way, just to clarify some terms, personal statements are statements more about you and describing who you are as a person. Supplementary essays are usually asked additionally by the university, so they want to get a feel of who you are. Like sometimes they'll ask you about your interests. Others they'll just want to know how you think. Portfolio requirements are usually for business students, where they want you to do a business case, or for art students, where they want to see your artistic skills and how varied it is. So you have to submit a portfolio, more like a coursework that you would submit, like an AA almost, to these universities for them to view your work. And make sure you check the deadlines for all of these to make sure that you don't have any last minute fumble. Moving on. So now that we have walked over actually, there's another important criterias. It's the letter recommendations, the transcripts, and the resume. So for the letter of recommendations, I know a lot of our students, I don't know why they do this, but they usually wait to the last minute to ask Ms. Sue about it, which, she's writing this letter for you. So make sure she's not rushing it, or you're putting her in a bad mood. Also, recommenders are those people that knows you well. So your counselor will be writing, so that's Miss Sue. But you can also choose teachers or even sport coaches that can write these letters for you. And when you choose these teachers, don't just think about, okay, so which one I like the most, but think about, who's been there for you and who's seen your growth through day one. For me, that would be Miss Sarah. She's been here for basically my whole high school and middle school. So she see how I progresses, and she can speak on it the most authentically. Just don't, and also choose those who express their words very well also. These three things are possibly the three very important but easiest things you can control. Letters of recommendations, you don't even have to do it yourself. You just literally need to ask other teachers to do it for you. The transcript is important. It shows your high school record from year 10 up to year 13 at that point, and you will submit this file, and the school will submit this file for you. All you need to do is ask early. Last, resume. Resume are literally the things that you have done throughout high school, so you don't have to make things up. You don't have to think too much. You just organize it, make it look professional. I recommend having 2 pages maximum instead of just listing everything out. Make it clean, so if they want to print it out, they can hold it in one hand. They can summarize everything very easily. And that would be all for the additional requirements. Now, moving on, we will go into the sort of tips we would like to share with you about time management and organizational tools.
Okay, so for university applications, there are lots of different types of deadlines, depends on the university. So as I know, some of the European universities and American university will have the first 2 deadlines on the list, which is early actions and early decisions. Early action is a special application time, which you could apply this earlier, and the time will usually much earlier than regular application times. And for this type of actions, you will have a better chance to get into this university which you apply for. And the early decision is buying to the agreements of university that will accept you, and you only have this. You can only choose this at university which you choose for early decisions, and the limited of early decision university will only have 1, which means you must go into this university if you apply for early decision and they accept you. If you have not do either one of the things, or if, for example, if you apply for early decision but you go into other universities, then there might be some difficult consequences in university lives. And the next 2 will be the common deadlines, which one is regular decisions. It is known usually as when most of the people and students are applying for universities. And the rolling admissions is when the application has been stopped, but you can still sending the informations to the universities. And also one more important deadlines is the financial aid deadlines, which when you're applying for any financial aid or scholarships, you will need to follow this deadline set by universities. And remember, these deadlines will also link with IB Lives and other things. Okay, next page, please. Hello?
Hello?
Turn to next page. Okay. Yeah. So basically, to manage between IBs, universities, and other deadlines, I would suggest that you had to consider firstly which country or which university you're going to, and based on the deadlines that have set. For example, from my experience, the university I applying in Germany, they have a really late deadlines, which is at June. That means that I can fully focus on IBs, essays, and EEs first, and then after those things are finished, then I go focus on my university applications. And if other people's are like, for example, in Americas, they have really early deadlines set by university, so they have to focus on university first, then come back to IB. And this depends on which country or university you have been chosen. And also, it doesn't mean that you fully focus on one and then forget other things. You still have to manage between 2. Because most of the universities have mentioned that they will apply for early actions, which will increase your chance to go into university. So by managing the deadlines of early action, early decisions, and your IB course is also important for you. Yes, that is my part.
Thanks, Ricky.
And the last part I want to talk about is organizational tools that I personally use during my application process. So the one I use mainly was Google Sheet. And I believe that Ben used it for his school selection process too. And it's really useful because it allows you to see the overview of your progress and application process. For here, for example, you have school name and their requirements, so you can keep up with the things they require and apply and supply the schools accordingly. Also, you can track your progress. For example, you can color code it in like ongoing, which is yellow, late, red, or done, which is green. So you can see clearly how you're going on with your process. And even for the school selection, you can list them out and then you consider them factor by factor. For example, your major rank, your downsides, the school downsides, the school campus, the Greek life, etc. So I think it's a pretty good overview of your process. And other tool you could consider is Notion, which is pretty new, but I think it's really effective because it's clean and neat. Yeah, so that's it. If you want to talk privately to each of us, feel free to do so. Is there any question?
No, I would like to wrap it up. So that's been the sort of advice that we have compiled between 6 of us in terms of applying to university in general. Now, we might not be experts, we might not be, you know, too in tune with you guys' needs, but I guess one takeaway that you guys can all benefit from this experience is that you need to take an active approach towards taking charge of your future. The reasons that, you know, we are here because we have made mistakes along the way, and we have wasted a lot of times figuring out, juggling between what to do and figuring out all the steps that we've shown you today. So this is hopefully will save you time, but the most important thing we're trying to get is that no matter how many tips we're trying to shove down your throat or make you to think about, you have to take advantage of your time and take charge of your position and opportunity. We are always here to help you. We will try to do it to the best of our abilities. Again, Ricky is going to Germany. Me and Minan is going to America. If you want to talk about UK University, talk to Ayong, and Hong Kong University or Korea University, reach out to Sangchul and discuss separately. We hope this session has been informative to you guys. And yeah, thank you so much for everyone for attending.
That was me clapping. Well done, guys. I'm just going to stop recording now. Stop recording. Action. Stop recording. There we go.